Hi everyone, here part 2 of Sew Sunday, putting a quilt on point. So obviously we can't see my face because I had the camera leaning so that the whole quilt is in the picture, because I want to explain something. So while I had my downtime, it's because there was napping going on and I can't do anything in here when people are napping. So I went ahead and sewed the rows, and I also down in this bottom section have sewn the rows together to make this process go just a little bit faster, but I'm quick when I'm off video. So, but I wanted to point some things out before I get started on putting the rows together. When you're doing an on-point quilt, and I didn't get to this because the video really sucked earlier, and I'm very sorry for the internet part on that, but it's not that I'm trying to speed through things. I really want you guys to see. There is a point that you would get to when you're sewing your rows. So when you get to about here, right before your corner one, this one starts with a corner, but does not end with anything. So this top, we're going to do this down on the floor. This top corner does not have no end, and do not hook your corner setting triangle to it just yet. Just leave that off when you get to this section, as well as this next row. It starts with a half square triangle, but on this end it just ends. It does not, you don't put your corner setting triangle on it just yet. Once they are connected, when you connect the rows, after all that is set, then we will place those on here. So I just want to make sure that you understand. Also, when the rows are being connected, when you hit this point to where you're not connecting anything on this side, these rows that are right here, it swaps. So remember I told you that your triangle lines up right here, making this the straight line? Well, once you pass this row, you know, your end one where you would normally put your piece on right here, the end, the corner setting triangles, that next row, the line starts to be on the top instead. So every time you connect a corner setting triangle, they connect the opposite way. So your top would be straight on this end, giving you your dog ear down on this end. So my dog ears are on this end, which I will trim away, and on this far side of this line, they will be facing the opposite way. So don't forget that that will be flipped. So you sew them on the same, but your top will line up differently than one side or the other. So now I'm on, let's see, this is all sewn together now. I got a big huge section right here, and I just kind of laid it here. And now I'm on putting this section right here, which does not end with anything. As you can see, it's empty right here. Nothing is connected to it. I'm going to leave it that way, but it starts with one. So I'm going to start by putting this right sides on this, and this is something that you would need to pin. So we're going to watch me pin this while we get ready to sew it on. Hi, Tracy. So I'm just going to unhook it because I have it all pinned on here so that it will stay. Ugh. I'm having loads of pain issues today, so getting up and down sucks. So I'm going to place this over here, and I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to put it right sides on here, and I'm going to bring it over here, this whole section, over to the ironing table because it's the longest form of a flat surface that I have at the moment. So I'm just going to set it over here, and I'm going to turn the camera so you can see right here. And I'm going to have my, and I'm going to keep this right here. And remember, I said this ends with nothing. So it's going to have a piece that sticks out differently. So on this end, where we're lining up right here, this end that has nothing on it is just going to go up right here at the top. So it's going to be lining up with the black or whatever color you're using. And since we have finger pressed all the seams, so they're all, this seam is going in towards here, this one is going up in towards here, so on and so forth. I'm going to put them right sides together, and I'm going to nest these seams and throw pins in them in every single joint. So again, I'm lining it up where that empty piece has nothing on the end, lines up on the piece where there is a black. And if you hear kids in the background, obviously it's because they're out playing, but they're right outside the window playing outside. And I'm just going to go down here, and every single juncture I'm going to put a pin in it. So I'm going to use my fingers to find where it's nice, and then adjust it really nicely. And just nest all my seams all the way down. You don't have to if you don't want to, but On Point quilts seem to stretch a lot more differently than a regular quilt. So I'm going to make sure that I pin all of my intersections on this quilt due to the fact that they do stretch differently and it sews differently. So you have to watch out for that when you're making your On Point quilts, that they do have a little bit more move and stretch to them. So let's just get all these attached, taking my pins along the way and putting them in every single one of my junctures. Lining it all up. I'm just nesting these seams right sides together, and I feel with my fingers when they're laying flat. And this one is coming onto a one that does not end, which I'll show you in a second. Let me turn it, put this pin in here, and I'll bring it up to the camera. So as you can see, that was this one. This one had no end because that's where the final quarter setting triangle on the two ends will go. So now I got my pins in here, and I'm going to turn the camera and bring it over to the sewing machine. All right, stay, 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 stay. Having so many issues today. So I'm hoping that most of you are able to go over to the group. If not, and you don't know anything about it, in the description below, there is a link to a Facebook group. For those who do not know, that Facebook group hosts pictures not only from you guys out there, but I do post pictures on there when I'm off screen. Hi Michelle, Dewana, I already said hi to Tracy. So when I'm off screen, I post pictures and videos and stuff on there so far since I made the group. Today I did my first live feed on there, and I could tell you right now, like I said earlier on earlier's video, the difference between YouTube and Facebook's live feed is massive difference, massive difference. You can actually see. So I'm pretty sure that I'm just going to start hosting my long arming videos in that group. If you go join that group, if you're a follower of my channel, go join that group. I think I'm just going to start hosting live long arming videos on that because it's a lot clearer. You guys can see what I'm doing different, better and clear quality, as opposed to on here, YouTube. It's clear, you guys can see what I'm doing, but it's not as, I don't know, it's not as accurate in the visual seeing of what I'm doing as opposed to the Facebook feeds. So just so you know, you can go join that group if you are an active follower of my channel. So I'm going to sew this right sides together now, and I'm going to just hold it where my pins are and try not to run my pins over, by the way. I'm sewing a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm just making sure that they stay nicely nested. And sometimes I guess I do run over my pins, but I try not to. But it happens. And I'm just going to lay this nicely on my lap because I'm poking myself right now. And again, as I said, if you can hear the kids and Scott, it's because they're right outside this window that's to the side of me that you guys see all the light coming in from. So I'm just sewing a 1/4 inch seam and just going all the way down this whole entire thing. since I pinned it, they're all where they're supposed to be. Or at least they should be where they're supposed to be every time the seams come together. And after this step, I will press, so I'm going to show you how that works. I totally forgot to plug the iron in as well. So I'll have to do that so I could show you guys. And now I'm just coming to an end right here, so I'm going to make sure that they're aligned just right. Hi, Vicki. Cool, I'll make sure that I got all these pins so I don't hurt myself. And I'm going to take the project over back to the ironing board, and then I'm going to turn the iron on. So give me a second to get that turned on. So we're going to move it to right here. I need to tip it down just a little. Sorry, guys. So I am going to flip this upside down, leaving the big quarter of it, this whole side of it, hanging down off of the ironing board. And I'm going to bring it down just like so because I want to pre-press this area and relax this seam a little bit. Because it is, like I said, this direction, it doesn't lay like you think. It will kind of stretch because we're sewing everything diagonally, pretty much. Now I'm going to bring this whole piece right here up and to the other way. And I'm just going to kind of try to use my fingers to push the seam back. And I'm going to go over it nice and carefully. Adjusting if I have to as I go down. Making sure that there's no folding going on, no pleating going on, and since I pinned it, it should be pretty darn accurate. And if it's not, I don't care because, again, I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to these unless I'm doing something specific. Then I'll be picky about it, but this I'm not going to be picky about. Alright, so now I'm going to take this back to the design wall. And now you can see it's starting to come together. I'm going to put a pin right there. So now you can see this side is still open on this end. And this side has got an opening on this end, right here. So this is going to get sealed after I finish all the rows. That will get sealed on there, but this piece now has to hook onto here so that this section will have the space it needs for that to go there when it goes on there. So I'm going to take this one off. And we're going to put this right sides together. And this black piece is going to line up on here because it's going to lay right there. See? I'm going to hold it on here so you can see. So now this next section is going to go straight across this way. See? So this piece needs to line up on this one right here. Make sure that when you put it right sides together that you hold that there because that's where you're going to be starting your pinning. So I'm going to hold that one, bring it back over to the ironing board because it's my biggest, flattest spot. Oops. I'm going to move the iron out of the way. And I'm going to pin this section. I only have 3 pins here with me, so I need to go grab my pins. I've been dragging them across the room with me, back and forth. So, Just making sure all these seams are nesting. When it comes to this end, it's going to land right here at the end. So it's going to keep making a new straight line. Hi, Teresa. All right, so let's get all these joints done where they come together. Nest every single seam all the way down with a pin. I just feel with my fingers and line them up. Like I said, this is a very stretchy direction to be sewing when you do on point. So you'll have some tug and pull, which actually allows for any mistakes to be hidden for sure in the whole entire quilt. But everything is very, very, very movable. So I would suggest when doing the project on point that you would starch it. That is probably the best way to do an on point quilt. I did not with this because this is made from scraps and leftovers from a layer cake and some yardage. Alright, so now that I have all the pins in here, I'm going to take it over. I keep having to adjust it because you know how I like to talk to the camera and not to anything else. Alright. So I'm going to carefully, because all the pins are in it, lay it onto my lap. And I'm going to start right here at the end. Making sure that it's laying nice and flat, everything's aligned. And I did not cut that dog ear off because that helped me line things up right now. And I'm just going to zoom down this side. If you're using really, really, really thin pins like I'm using right now, it's okay, I guess, to go over them, but I don't recommend it, honestly. I'm going over it, but last week I did break a needle going over a pin, but it was a thicker pin. And like I said, this is very stretchy, so I have a lot of movement right now in here. I would suggest putting the wider fabric on the bottom, or the one that has more stretch to it on the bottom to pull it through better, but if you can't flip it while you're working on it, then do what you can. Back this a little bit out of the way. Just trying to make sure all my seams are lining up the way they're supposed to. Alright, almost to the end here. And again, I just want to make sure that my black piece is aligned just right. Trying not to pull too much because, like I said, it's all on the diagonal, so it stretches. It stretches quite a bit. Alright, let's turn it back over to the iron. So this time I'm going to start making everything go this way. So I'm just going to start by, because now I hit that halfway point. So I'm just going to start with relaxing the seam real quick. And honestly, underneath it does not matter as long as it's nice and pressed. Lays nice and flat. So now that's pressed. I'm going to turn it so you guys can see the design wall again. And I'm not even going to hook anything up. I'm just going to set it here so I know which way I'm going. I'm going to grab this next piece, and it's going to line up right here, just like this. It's going to come to here, and now I'm just going to flip it right sides together, starting it right here. And now I think I can pin over at the table. Because now I have enough room over here to pin. And I'm not cutting off these dog ears, I'm just leaving them. I know most people trim them off, but I mean, if you want to, just take a pair of scissors, you know, and grab at it right here and just go snip. And come up this end right here where it's sticking out and just snip it. That's if you want to. Like I said, I haven't been doing it, but you can if you need to. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead now and pin all of these on here. Is this process helping anyone? Being able to set things on point? And if you hear my doorbell, that's because the kids are ringing it. They must have found the button. Hi, Sandy. Alright. Oh, it's still working. Something about chat disconnect something. I have no idea. Alright, so I'm just still going here, pinning down this. Adjusting it with my fingers. Again, it looks funny because of where the ending spots are, but trust me, it should line up. If I'm doing it correctly, or if you're doing it correctly, it should line right up. Okay, so now I got my pins in. I'm going to carefully bring it to me because it's been poking me. And I'm going to start right here at this end. 1/4 inch seam and just start making my way all the way down. Carefully, because I'm poking myself. Thank you, Sandy. I'm trying to explain it as best as I can. I know when I learned to do on point, I learned from videos, but I didn't learn as good as some of the videos just don't. I guess because nobody shows you the whole entire thing, it makes it hard to learn. That's why I like doing the whole process from start to finish, although you did see me skip a couple rows because of the whole video thing, but I did come back and show you exactly where I was and how and so on, how I got to the point that I was. So I'm almost done. Coming to the end. Like I said, no stretch or pull because this really 100%, this direction stretches so bad. Alright, so I'm going to take it over to the ironing board. And I totally need a new ironing board. I don't know if you guys know, but I make my ironing board covers out of sheets. And I didn't realize that this sheet was not the right sheet to make an ironing board cover out of because it is literally burning through. Like, I don't know. It's never done that on any of my other sheets that I've ever covered my ironing board with, but this one just does not like it. So I need to either make a new cover or just go buy one at Walmart. So I'm just pressing this. But yeah, I don't know what's happening. I think this is a polyester, mostly polyester sheet, because it's right here. This is all burnt and it's crisp and it's tearing. Like, it literally has slices through this whole area. It's pretty crazy. Alright, so I'm going to put this back at the design wall. And now I don't need to do anything but just hold it up here, or if you're using your floor, put it to the floor. Realize that this is my next piece. Grab it, take it down, line it up down here on this. Again, you can trim your dog ears off the end if you want, but I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to hold it right here at this first seam and down here at this last seam. I'm going to bring it over to the table and pin it. And I'm talking with a pin in my mouth. That's the only reason why it sounds funny. Alright, so I'm just going to pin this real quick. There's only a couple more seams left to do on here. So I'm just nesting my seams together because remember, they're pressed in, out, in, you know what I mean? So they line up so nice. Very, very nice. That's the good part about doing it this way, is it's so easy to press and it lines up really nicely, but there's a lot of stretch. A whole heck of a lot of stretch. So let's just line all this up. Didn't get a notice, Sandy, I am blocked. I think I have everybody's son because I'm not getting any comments back. I have no idea. Getting. I saw your video on the crochet. I think it's nice. I haven't seen any videos today. I went on Margaret Lowen while I couldn't go on live because of the kids going to sleep. So that's all I did today besides this. And then I went on my own video on the group. So, alright, I'm going to bring this to myself right here. Again, I'm going to be very careful. And like I said, if you want to chop these little dog ears off, you can. I'm not even going to bother with it. They don't bother nothing. It's all going to get trimmed away anyway. Start with my 1/4 inch seam and just make my way down this side. And like always, it's nice to have a big flat table because projects hang off, especially if this was a bigger one. This is a baby one, but it still is nice to have somewhere flat for everything to lay. Alright, almost to the end because there are less seams to match up this way. Lining this other end up right here. And sewing right off. Take that last pin out. Move my pins over out of the way. We're going to go back to the ironing board. Alright, so we're almost done. Let me just set these seams. And I'm just rolling it back. If the seam doesn't want to push back, then I'm not going to force it. I just try to make sure that everything stays nice and straight. And it looks like my seam right here got really messed up, so I think I'm going to pick that out real quick. I don't like that when that happens. So let me turn the camera and we'll pick this out real quick right here and readjust it. That totally got messed up and I don't know how. Sometimes that just happens. I only pick out about, I don't know, 2 inches worth at the seam area. I only just get about 2 inches. I separate it and then I just realign it with a pin. Sometimes they get messed up even when you're pinning. Usually I don't know how it happens, but it happens. Come on, seam. I have my good seam ripper out in the garage at the long arm right now. So I'm stuck using this crappy one. Alright, so again, all I'm doing is taking apart a good like 2 inches worth. And then I take a pin and I realign. Like I said, this is a very stretchy way to do this. And I'm going to flip it as well because I want this this fabric right here on the bottom to be taken in better, because it's the way it's sticking out. So I come about 1 inch past where I was, and stop about 1 inch past. Pull that pin out and then check it before, and that's a lot better. And before I go press it, I'm going to get all these loose threads out of here. Yeah, I don't like, sometimes they get really messed up. That's why I don't think pinning is always the best way to go. Thank you, Teresa. I try. Alright, so I'm going to reset this seam and then re-roll it back. Most of it's been pressed, so it's still nice. That's a lot better. That's 3 seams now, even with pins that did not get straight. But like I said, there's a lot of stretch this way. You can just see it just by me being right here. It stretches quite a bit. Alright, so I'm going to turn it to the design wall. There's not much left to do. As you can see, don't really need to hold nothing nowhere. Just need to place this right here. See? Pull this pin out. I'm going to line this down up on here, putting the black towards this next one. And I'm not even going to bother with the pins. I'm just going to take it over and sew it. And hold it as best as I can with my fingers. Like I said, again, if you want, you can take these little dog ears and trim off a straight line there, come down to this end, trim off a nice straight line. You can do it with your rotary cutter if you want. You don't have to do it. It's not a necessity. Alright, so I'm just going to finger align these seams now. Just going to hold them nice and tight, line this up. I'll lay it down right here, start sewing my seam, and just hold these as I go. Sometimes I find this a lot easier anyway, just holding my seam. There's not very many seams to nest this time, so just go to the next one, sew, go to the next one, and sew. Just holding them nice and tight with one finger. Sometimes I have to flip my seam back down because it wanted to flip up on me. And then go to the next one, hold that nice and flat. Sew on down, and then sew right off the edge of this last piece. And then I'm going to take it over to press it. So again, I'm just going to lay it down right here. Give it a little bit of a press. Roll it back with my hand. I'm going to check all these seams. They look good to me. And if it doesn't want to lay the way it doesn't want to lay, then I don't force it. I just press it to where it's laying flat. Okay, and then to the design wall. There's only one corner left. So putting this here for now so that you can see this is going to go here. Then I have one down there. That one I already put on, and all I have left to do is this piece right here for this part at least. So this one lines right up. And then I'll grab all my corner setting triangles and put those on. So I'm going to lay this right here. Pull the whole thing on the table. The only two seams I need to, well, technically, yeah, two seams I need to be nested right here, one there and one there. So again, I'm just going to start right here at the end. I'm not caring about that dog ear at the end. I'm just going to leave it right there. It's all going to get squared up anyway. So just lay this down on top of it so. Sewing it on nice and straight all the way down. Soon. I got 4 corners to add. And I check my seam. It looks good. I'm going to press it. And then we'll add the 4 corners. I'll have to trim it. Technically, I only have 3 corners to add, but alright, so now I'm going to bring this over to the table. I'm going to pick up my squares off the floor over there. So I'll be right here in just a second. So I'm going to lay this down right here on the table so you guys can see. My corner setting triangles are the 5.5 inch block just cut in half. I just cut a bunch of them. Most I should say take a 7 for about a 5.5 inch for about a 5.5 inch end. You would want to cut a 7.5 inch square on the diagonal both ways. I didn't bother. I just used the 5.5 inch cut on the diagonal, so they stick out quite a bit. I'm gonna try to pull these threads out while I'm here. But I don't care because what I'm going to do, so here's the end that it needs to hook to. And I know that the center of this end is right here. So in between these 2 blocks is my center. What I'm going to do is take one of these and I'm going to fold it in half. Find my center. So now I found my center. And I'm going to lay it right sides together, finding the center here. And it should be quite equal. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to stick out quite a bit. Just sew it down. It doesn't even have to be sewn all the way to the end. And I'm just going to finger press it for now out of the way. So it's going to stick out like that. But we're going to trim it nice and straight. I just did the thing because it's so much easier this way. Instead of cutting another size square. Because if you're only working with say a charm pack and all cut them in half, it's so much easier to just use the half piece, you know. If you have plenty of pieces, just use the last piece that's on there. So I'm going to find my center again. I'll lay it right sides together. And I know that that is center right here, so it's kind of good. If you could see, this black is lining up in between right there. So that's how I know it's nice and perfect where I want it to lay. It's pretty easy to get that because of my design right here helped that lay better. My hair is everywhere. I'm going to push this one out of the way. I'm going to find my last corner again. Without even finding the center, we're going to lay this on here, right sides together. And the best thing, look, see, because of my piece, it lays right there in that center. That's how I know it's center of this block. It just lays right there in that little cubby. Set it down in here and sew it. And this is a very stretchy piece. Very stretchy piece. It is really on the bias. So there's all those. So now what I'm going to do is move some things out of the way because I'm going to press and then we're going to trim. So let's press real quick. I'm going to press the whole entire thing. So I'm going to start with right here and these two ends. And I'm just going to make those lay nice and flat. And I'm just going to press this like this on the diagonal, like this and like this, not like this, because it's not gonna, my cord, it's so stretchy that I keep hitting that, I have to iron it like that. That's how stretchy it is. Make sure this is nice and flat. Again, I'm just going to line it on here, give it some steam. It would help if I had water in the iron for the steam. I keep the water right next to me so that I can add water at any time. And I'm just going to adjust this some more. My iron decided to spit out yuckiness. Still ironing it on the diagonal. Hi, Suneda. I'm almost done. Well, at least with this part. I am going to make a piece of border for it, but that'll probably just be off-cam stuff, and anybody in the group can come over and check that out. It'll just be pieced on. I just wanted to make sure that I showed you guys how to set stuff on point, because a lot of people want to know, and this is how it's done. And I told you my second go around, the video would, at least the internet would be better. Video is not better quality, but the internet is at least. Alright, we're coming to the end of this. I'm going to make sure that this is pressed down right here. Nice and flat. I'm just going to be chopping that off anyway. So again, I'm just pressing it diagonally. You can press it diagonally this way and this way. I'm just kind of doing one way for now. Come to this end, adjust the whole thing right here. I can get a nice flat end right there. Oh, hurting myself. Nice and hot. Alright, that part is done. Now let's trim it. I'm going to unplug the iron. Alright, so trimming, let's see if I have this angle good, because I want you guys to see. Okay, for trimming, we're going to lay it right here in front of me, and I am going to do my best to make sure that there is a line here and a line here on the board, on my mat. And what I'm going to do is all these dog ears are going to come off, and I'm going to trim, let's see how much I have. I'm going to trim a 1/4 inch from this tip. So see where this tip is right here? On all these, I'm going to run the 1/4 inch line of my ruler straight down all of these tips. I got so much stuff in the way. I need to lift this up just a little. I'm going to run my 1/4 inch line, so on the ruler, 1/4 inch, and I'm going to put it on the 1/4 inch tip of every single one of these ends. It should lay nice and flat. I'm going to come to this end and chop that end off. Line that up. That's still lined up. Straighten that out. Bring it up, trying to keep it nice and flat right here on a line, just because. come down here and I'm going to line all these up on this 1/4 inch line. Hold it nice and tight. Trim all those off. Bring it down onto itself again. Line it back up. Now I'm coming to this, and it's not very big of a quilt, so I don't have much to do. Put this on the 1/4 inch, that on the 1/4 inch, this on the 1/4 inch. Trim all that away, and now turn it. So now that that's a straight line, now let's just do this side. Again, I'm lining up right here at this tip. I'm coming a 1/4 inch away from all these tips, the points. So I'm going to cut 1/4 inch from that, 1/4 inch from that. It's probably better to use my pink ruler, especially on black fabric. I have a pink one that's this. It's great for black fabrics because I can see better. Bring it up here. Now set all these at the 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch.